The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
And we're back.
Hey. Good evening.
Hi, John.
Good evening. Bon dia, I should
Bon
say.
dia, bon dia. He's learning Portuguese.
Yeah,
because,
2 words at a time.
he's gonna be in Portugal sometime this year.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We've been off the air because of the campaigning. It was election season.
Yep.
Then I came back. I was out of the country. John was here. Then
I went on vacation.
Then he went on vacation. Then I did a show with our friend Chip Camara last week.
Cool. Okay.
So this week he's back, and so it's always good when he's back because you have two independents, but not think alike. Yeah. You know, two different independents.
There's a big spectrum.
How the independents could be this different too?
Yeah, because you're at one spectrum. But no, I know. You're right. You're right. I hear you. I hear you.
So we've been
following different things.
Different things. We are in Africa sometime before we split for vacation, and I think you bring some topic today that's gonna. A little bit. I hope our listeners gonna enjoy.
I hope everybody can indulge me. I just read a book called "Kill the Boer." And Boer stands for farmer in Afrikaans, which is a form of Dutch. That is one of the official languages in South Africa. This talks about the farm murders that we've spoke about in the past. So if you could indulge me, I'm just going to read one of the chapters. This is one of the...
I'm going to pull a chair.
Yeah, fine. Go ahead. Fine. Go ahead. This is one of the incidences on a farm, and it was a recent incident. So September 30th, 2016 ended like a normal day in the lives of Johan, 43, and Mariandra Hinas, 32. They lived on a small holding north of Pretoria. Johan was a self-employed cabinet maker who has farmed with chickens on a small-scale farm and did work for other farmers too. His dream was to own his own farm and to be a full-time farmer. Johan and Mariandra had met in 2006 and were married in 2009. They had just celebrated their 7th anniversary. The couple had 3 little girls, Mika, Misha, and Andrea. Mariana was 36 weeks pregnant with her 4th child, a boy, whom they intended on naming AJ after Johan. Mariandra and Johan had discussed the dangers of living on a small holding. They had seen the movie Tekron. It was a film in which the lead character and his family are murdered during a farm attack in South Africa. Johan was really upset by what was happening on South African farms and small holdings. They discussed the possibility of moving into the city for the sake of their family. However, they decided to upgrade their security system. That evening, the whole family was upstairs in the living room watching TV. One by one, they fell asleep. Mariandra called Andrea and Misha downstairs, carried them downstairs to their beds. Mika was tucked in, fast asleep on a little mattress on the floor by the TV. Mariandra decided to let her lie there a little longer. She went to lie down on the couch next to her husband and daughter. The dog started barking. Mariandra woke up. She tried to wake Johan, but he was very tired. Half asleep, he murmured that it was probably a cat. Mariandra went to check all the windows, but did not see anything. The dogs did not appear to be too distraught, so she assumed that it was a cat. She went to lie down again. She heard a sound. It sounded like Misha coming upstairs to lie with them. She sat up straight and looked over the railing for her daughter, but did not see anything coming toward her. Something felt wrong. Having already checked the house and knowing that it was locked up like a prison, Mariandra closed her eyes again. Then she heard another sound. It was the sound of a gun cocking. She opened her eyes. In front of her stood 2 men pointing a pistol at her. Mariandra immediately realized what was happening, she screamed frantically. The attackers also started screaming, gesturing that they wanted to push her over. Johan woke up but remained calm. The men asked for money. Madreña and Johan both explained that there was no money in the house. Mika woke up and started moving around in the room, completely distressed by what she was seeing. Johan explained to them where all the valuables were in the house, the TV, the computers, the car. They could take whatever they wanted. Johan remained lying on the couch, lifting his head upright with his hand anchored on his elbow. He was making it clear that there was no threat to them. He kept talking to them in a calm voice. Please just leave us alone. You can take anything you want. Just don't hurt my family, he said. This man is a killer, said one of the attackers, and he's here to kill you. Then they opened fire. They fired the shot at Mika. They turned to Johan and started firing at him at close range. The first bullet went straight into his heart. They fired 5 more shots into his arm, his abdomen, and his legs. When Madreña saw the blood, she prayed for them to leave so she could take her husband to the hospital. She tried to shield her unborn baby. Mika on the other side of the room. The shot had missed her, but she was not able to run to her mother because the attackers were between them. She ran to her father, crawling between him and the back of the couch. They aggressively grabbed Madreña by the arm. They told her to go downstairs. She refused. They were screaming at each other. In a moment of innocence that befits a 6-year-old girl, little Mika sat down on the mattress. She raised her hand as if to indicate to the intruders that she had something to say. They did not seem to care. Even though her first language is Afrikaans, she tried her best to address the intruders in English. I've got money. You can take my money. I've got a piggy bank, she said. She asked them to take the money and leave her mommy alone. They were pulling at Madreña to go downstairs with them. Upon hearing this, his daughter's offer to hand over the piggy bank. Johan, who had fallen off the couch by then, stood up and stumbled toward them. He was able to take 2 steps. By then, he was unable to breathe. He was already drowning in his own blood, which was bubbling from his mouth. He looked at the attackers. Please. At that moment, the one turned to the other and said, just kill him, brother. Madreña screamed at the top of her lungs. The man stepped towards Johan, lifting his firearm to Johan's face. Mika screamed, no, no, no. He pulled the trigger. Johan fell face down to the floor. Then they turned to Madreña. Where are the other children, they asked. Sticking the pistol to her head, all she could do was grab a pillow nearby, which she desperately shoved between her and the barrel of the gun. She said they had done enough already, that you should go. Just go, just go. You can take everything, just go. The 2 men then took the cell phones, casually strolled down the stairs, opened the lock of the front door from the inside, and walked out the door. That's what's happening. There were numerous stories in this book about this. This is what's happening in that country right now, and there's very little media attention about it, and it's really a sin. I have another section that I could read, but it's a little bit more in depth as to what people that go into these farms after people are tortured, because this was an emotional thing, because this woman's pregnant. She has 3 children, 1 on the way, and they shot her husband. Her only source of income, she has 4 children now. So it was very emotional to see that. I've seen her in interviews on television. It's an emotional thing. This lady's life has changed forever. Her children's lives have changed forever. And what happens is this only could create hate later on, right? Because now people have come and murdered your father before you were even born.
So, I mean, the message that we can get from stories like this is the only goal there is to be a bad person, to
Correct.
be,
Correct.
I mean, it's nothing really they can take from that, else to be just the bad person they want to be, and I think this is going. It's not just going on in Africa, I think this is spreading into other countries. We just had this bombs again over the weekend. And that's pretty much what it is, because they're just going to kill people with no goal. I mean, it's no reason for somebody just to place a bomb in a place that and kill people they don't even know who they are. Yeah. And they don't care how old are they. They don't care what color are they. They just evil. They just want to do evil.
They're evil, but they're standing behind a religion. You know, and I think that's what the scary part is that right now all those churches were bombed in Sri Lanka. We had the Notre Dame fire, but prior to the Notre Dame fire, they said that was electrical. All right, but prior to that, many churches were being desecrated in France. They were being vandalized in France, and you don't hear any of that. So, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't just listen to mainstream media, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Don't listen to them as like they're the Holy Grail, because they're not. They don't tell the whole story. And you got to know the whole story. You need to read on your own. Read many things. You know, read many things. I've read many things there.
I mean, this news TV channels, they pretty much are after profit.
Correct.
That's not
ratings.
Exactly.
Right?
That's not just. It's just like a soap opera. It's just like a TV show that everybody wants to see it, and they drag the money from that. And it's exactly, and I told you before here, I used to watch a lot Fox News and a lot CNN. I never picked one. I will go through them. So let's see what they're talking about in here. Let's see what they're talking about in there. But right now is, if I want to see a show that I missed on CNN, what I have to do is just turn the Fox News the next day, because the whole show that was the day before on CNN, now it's on Fox News. And same thing.
CNN.
When I go to CNN, they're talking about the same people and the same shows that was the day before on the other channel. So to me, when I'm looking for news, I want a news with no filter. I want a news. Give me the news and let me make my opinion which way I'm going to take this news. Not you to tell me, and you already filtered the news, and you're just going to show me what I want to see. Yeah,
to see. Whatever, you're right. You know? Whatever side of a political spectrum you're on, you watch this channel or that channel.
And I think after Trump got elected, I think turned 100% worse. Because now that's the only thing they talk about. It's so many things. It's so many news they can broadcast, and they're not broadcasting. They're just talking the same thing and same
it's all
thing.
Trump TV. Trump TV, right? Everything's Trump TV.
Every time that I turn my TV, it's the investigation on Trump. Is the now it's the Trump wants to investigate the Clinton. Now it's the Clinton with the Clinton did to Obama. Now it's Obama trying to I mean, I already it's like I already hear this so many times, and it's. You're not giving me anything new. I mean, I understand if they're going to talk about the investigation, but they have more news to give about.
They have 13 experts talking about it on CNN, right?
But, I mean, they have the screen full of guests. They're all saying the same thing. They're all talking on top of each other. Fox News invites people from the Trump administration and then people that it's not from the administration, and laughs on their faces. That's what the news is right now. They laugh.
But Carlos, CNN, Chris Cuomo does the same thing when like Rudy Giuliani and these other people come in.
They all do.
So they all do it.
Like Tucker. Now it's a humor now because that's what Tucker does. He just laughs.
Walker used to be on CNN, though.
But you
He
know
used to be on
something?
CNN, remember?
He laughs out of nothing. He don't have nothing to laugh. But just because he's interviewing a Democrat, he's laughing.
I think before we go on a tangent with the U.S. things, I think it'd be nice just to hear this. There's a lot of stuff in Europe, and I don't know if it's aired in Portugal, but in Germany, there has been an increase. Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, in rapes of women. I mean, there was, during the last New Year's, that they had probably about 50 or 60 women that were molested. You saw that here, clip, 5 seconds, that was it.
But you know something? It's funny because the other day I was in a place that they have that box they buy from Amazon. They buy a box. They catch I don't know how many channels and all of that. And it's funny because I was watching CNN from London.
International, right? The international one?
Exactly. And it's nothing like the CNN from New York. I mean, it's nothing. They were talking about something in Brazil, something that happened in Brazil, and they were covering the something water destructed or houses or something like that. But I was like, wow, it's interesting. This used to be the CNN, you know, back then.
No, I used to like CNN. I can't really watch it much anymore. I do watch it still, but you know what I mean? It's
one after another, after another, after another, after another.
There's got to be something else.
They all talk about the same thing, one after another. Sometimes they have the same guests coming from the show before, coming again. And to me, it's like, I mean, it's no news. I mean, I want to see news. That's not news. You know?
I hear you. I'm going to just read a little bit of this. You hit me on my hand if it gets too graphic, but I just think stuff like this is important because people don't hear it, you know? All right, so there is this group in South Africa. They're called the Blood Sisters, and what they do is they go into these small holdings and these farms after farm attacks, and they've established a degree of fame. So they've had a book that they have a whole entire chapter out there on these farm murders. So I'm just going to start, and I'm not going to bore people, but this is kind of interesting. The atmosphere on the scene of farm murders is noticeably different. And the reason why I say this too is that in the country of South Africa, they have 19,000 murders a year, which is a lot for 66 million people, 19,000 murders. But the murders on these farms are in remote areas. Somebody gets shot and killed. But on these farms, what happens is people come in and they torture people for days sometimes, but hours. Hours, but sometimes days, they torture these people until they die. So these women are talking about this in this chapter. So the atmosphere on the scene of farm murder is noticeably different, said Dejar and Shute. They're convinced that the term farm murders is misleading. According to these individuals who have dealt with the scenes of all kinds of violent crime, including hits ordered by organized crime, the terms farm torture or farm terror would be more appropriate. In a farm murder, robbery is seldom the motive. Robbery is merely a side effect. The murder is motive, revenge, another element. Actually, after what we've seen on many different scenes, we can't help but thinking that this is actually all about torture and murder. Shute and Dejaga are concerned that the brutality of farm attacks is fairly unknown among or determined by the general public in South Africa. Nobody knows about the hours of torture. We see it in what we find after the murder like that. An old woman being raped in front of her husband, an old man whose Achilles tendons are cut so that he can no longer walk. After that, he is executed on his knees. That is, in the most cases with the men being killed in farm attacks, they are shot execution style. They have noticed how in some of the horrific scenes that the details are concealed in a manner in which the stories are reported by the mainstream media to make it easy for the deceased family. While one could argue that this might be an ethical way to report on the farm murders to just show respect for the surviving loved ones, the negative consequences are that the true horror of these attacks are underestimated in the public's perception. They continue, explaining what they have witnessed in regard to the woman. Attacks Attackers like to cut women's throats or push broken objects into their privates. The so-called blood sisters talk about how sharp objects are pushed into women's genitalia, including fishing rods, glass bottles, sharp broomsticks. In one case, the woman was found with a sharpened end of a broomstick sticking out of her throat. They describe a crime scene in which the farmer was tied up, gagged, and forced to watch how the attackers took turns raping his wife. Once the attackers are finished, they put a sharp glass bottle in the rape victim's private parts. Judging from these stories, it is as if there is no limit to the creativity of the attackers when it comes to inventing new and horrendous methods of torture. Elderly victims and children are especially targeted for brutal killings. In one case mentioned where the farmer was gagged and forced to witness the raping of his wife, the couple's son was also drowned in a bathtub filled with boiling hot water. So this is more than just attacking or trying to steal from someone. This stuff goes on for hours and hours, and the people that are there hear all this stuff going on and know that they're going to be next. So this is a crime on humanity. When I hear people talk about things in this country and we have bad things happen, that it's a crime against humanity, I don't even think they know the meaning of it until you read something like this that's happening in another country. So stuff like that gets me upset when you watch these stupid things that are going on in our media right now about going after someone after an investigation that's been investigated for 2 years, where we spent $24 million on. They interviewed 500 people, and we're still talking about this a week later and still going after things to prosecute through Congress when we have issues here in Fall River. Our own senator fails to listen to what our problems are with the CSO project. She has way too many things to do. She's always out of the state. But I'm going to take a line from C.J. Ferry. I don't vote for some of these people, but I blame everybody out there because you keep on voting these people in. You're voting these people in. They say, we have one particular person that said they weren't going to run for president. 2 months later, after they're elected, they're running for president, and they're never in the state. I've tried calling a lot of times some of these people. They don't even answer the phones. They don't even have people there to answer the phone. So we're voting these people in. They don't have the best interest of this country or the whole world community. When we say we're a compassionate community, where we're talking about the border, we're talking about people coming in, you know, people that are coming here on their own will, and something happens to them, but stuff like this is happening in a country, and we say nothing. We remain silent. It's disgusting.
Like I said, it's plenty. If they're looking for news, it's plenty of news out there that needs to be broadcast, and people need to start to hear about. And that's a perfect example. And I mean, if people that are curious about some of this that we're talking about, if you Google some shows back, we even showed videos of what's going on the country there.
And there's a lot of, like with anything, the gentleman that wrote this book is from AfriForum. AfriForum, if anybody Googles it or they look online, it is a minority group in South Africa. But what you're going to see sometimes is that, of course, the majority of farmers are white. The head of this group is white, so you're going to hear things that it's right-wing, this, that, and the other thing. You just got to go through all that stuff because there are people in the country that are running the country of South Africa right now that are calling for the killing of these farmers. Kill the farmer, kill the Boer. That's why the name of this book. They actually go out in front of Parliament sometimes and say things like this. Absolutely disgusting. So you just got to read and not just look at the first thing. I also love sometimes, you know, we have here Snoops, which, you know, they'll say this is false, this is this. You got to read between the lines with that because there's a thing called Africa Check in Africa that talks about this, but they try to make this, you know, it's not as bad as it is. You know, they're not going to talk about, it's like when anything else. You and I have a fight, right? It's your truth, my truth, and then it's the real truth. Because each side is trying to make it look better toward them. But this group actually was just here in the United States last week. talking to people in Congress, talking to them about what the issues are over there, because they're still making plans after this election, depending on what party in Parliament gets in, they might start expropriating that land, and that's not going to be pretty.
Yep.
You know, and they're not going to get any foreign investment. A Walmart or any of these stores don't want to go into a country that take over people's private property rights. So it creates a big problem. It's going to make it even worse. Something I was reading about South Africa the other day, that 20% of the people that are selling their homes in the country right now are actually leaving the country because they're afraid of what's going to happen. I mean, this has happened in the countryside, but when it starts happening in the city, where do you go?
It's going to spread.
Then they're going to have to leave the country. And if you don't have the means to leave, what do you do? That would be like people here in Fall River. If you don't have the means to leave, where can you go? I mean, you need to have money to go to these other countries.
Yeah,
we can't walk. Like people are coming into our country, we can't walk there. So it's a very serious topic, and I think people just need to look at what's going on, not only here, this is going on in other countries, in Europe. Like I was saying earlier, I don't know if I had mentioned this, but Carlos and I were talking about it beforehand. Before that Notre Dame fire, there were churches being desecrated there. There are issues in these European countries right now where there's a lot of crime going on, and these folks are not used to it. The Scandinavian countries aren't used to crime, and there are issues there right now, and it does not come on the news. It's amazing that this doesn't come on, but anyway.
Well, we still have
a
few minutes and couple minutes, and we're almost done with this show. Elections, believe it or not, it's going to start.
I know, God, here we go.
Another
that, right? I don't even pay attention to that.
I know, but
you know
another week, people can start picking up papers.
But you know what, Carlos? I'm going to just say this, and I'll let you say whatever you want. We had an election. We had a person get into office, right? We got rid of the purple bags, and congratulations, everybody. We got rid of the purple bags, but it looks like our assessment on the new Durfee High School is going to start this year, which is at least $100 to $200 extra. So whatever you got rid of on the purple bags, you're paying it back anyway. So I hope we realize next time we got to look at everything everybody says, because all they do is move in shelves,
and
right?
The famous $2 million.
Oh yeah.
It's the famous $2 million.
Yeah.
So it's funny how things work. But that's what's going to happen. We definitely, next show, we need to bring a local. We have local stuff that's going on, and we're going to be doing some stuff. I'm planning to do another show next week, because I don't know about your neighborhoods, but my neighborhood, starting the month of May, we have a lot of things every weekend. During the week, we have school events that we need to promote. So we're going to have a very busy month of May. And we would like to know what's going on in Niagara too. So that will be our next show. We're definitely going to bring a local.
Sounds good.
John, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk about it. I know I kind of took over the show.
I like to hear. I like to hear about this stuff. Very interesting. And until then, I hope you guys have a nice week.
Have a good night.